I'm so excited to have Tara Stiles joining me today on the podcast. Tara, thank you so much. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you too.
Thank you. For those of you that listen to the podcast with Yuladi Saluti, she spoke so highly of Tara that it got me excited to reach out to you, Tara, and and get a chance to speak with you. So thank you for being so gracious and accepting my invitation. I know you have a busy schedule. Are you in New York City currently?
Oh, I'm not actually. I just got back from Singapore yesterday, but we're in Illinois. We got this place in Illinois a couple years ago to be close to family and kind of support everyone here. So we'll be going to New York in the fall for Daisy's school, but we've been here for a couple years, kind of based out of hometown America. So that's been really pretty sweet, actually.
Wonderful. Not in Chicago, and it sounds more like in a rural setting.
Yeah, you got it. So you know, because you know America. A lot of friends in Europe are like, "Oh, Illinois, Chicago." Yeah, we're pretty far south, so the weather's actually a little bit warmer here than in Chicago. But yeah, all my family's here. They're farmers and hanging around, so it's been nice to catch up with everybody and just be together.
That's so cool. Is that the town that you grew up in?
I didn't. I grew up a little bit closer to Chicago, but everybody is from here. So my parents got a place down here a few years ago. So everybody's kind of in the same location. So it's nice to just be around for sure.
I hear you. That's cool. And especially having farm life is pretty amazing. Do they have like a big farm, or are they more like cottage farmers? Are they like where they have chickens and veggies, or are they more of like big time farmers?
I mean, I don't know how big time, but kind of all of it. My aunts, all my relatives have gardens and things like that. So come summertime and late fall, you've got everything, and then they can it all for the winter and all of that.
Wow.
But they do, uh,
That's awesome.
yeah, they do. They do the veggies for the personal consuming, and then they do corn and wheat and things like that. And I remember a few years ago asking my cousin, who's a few years older than me, she does a lot of the big kind of combining and stuff. We get to ride along, but I asked her where the corn goes, after reading Michael Pollan's book and all of these kind of things. And she says, I know there's a lot of the problems with America, but they found a way to sell their corn for hard plastics and windshields. So I thought that was kind of cool. Just everybody trying to do
Yeah,
a bit better. Yeah.
I hear you. That's amazing. Are you an organic gardener, or a do you have time for a garden, or do you just get the
I
benefit from your family?
I just get the benefit from my family, to be honest. I would love to, but we're not here in the summers all the time. And
Yeah.
I'd love to actually do a greenhouse. I'm seeing that you can kind of buy these pop-up greenhouses. They're becoming more easy and economical and fun. You can kind of pop that up in your yard now and just one click buy these things for a few $100. And maybe I'll pop one of those up at some point and, see if I can get that going.
Very cool. What was it like over, you said Singapore?
Yeah, Singapore.
How was Singapore?
Yeah, it was great. This festival called Glow Festival brought me out for about a week, and I got to lead classes there, which was really fun. And I've been to Singapore a few times. So, first of all, it was really fun just to catch up with old friends and new friends and just be back in person with people. I'm just
Yeah.
one of the millions that is so grateful to just be together with people and
Yeah.
do yoga. And it was a great festival, and I got to kind of feel like that studio effect again. It was a couple classes a day, and there was other teachers and other experiences and lots of people. So it was just really nice to hang around and practice and just talk with people and hug people and things like that.
That sounds really cool. Was it structured sort of like a yoga journal type conference where you like a couple of teachers were teaching in different rooms at the same time and the participants would join in, or was it that like there was one room and then you would take turns teaching with the other teachers?
Yeah, it was just one big room, and they did this cool thing. It was inside, and they had these kind of interactive screens that were like almost like a jungle. So they did this really neat kind of tech thing. And at first, I thought everybody would be overwhelmed seeing these screens, but the room was really humongous. So kind of in the distance, you'd see an elephant kind of walking by and things
Wow.
like that. So
Wow.
it was pretty unique and fun to just hang around and be together with people for sure.
Cool. When you had a chance to teach, what type of class did you teach? Did you do like a vinyasa flow, or what is on the forefront of your specialty these days?
Sure. I guess what I've always loved to lead, and so actually it was a really cool opportunity to have so many different time slots. It's kind of like a regular studio, and they wanted a variety of classes. So some a bit more energetic, some more gentle, some kind of in between. And everything that I love to lead is based in easygoing movement, breath body connection, this kind of uh, almost East Asian influence in the yoga, but it doesn't need to come across that way so much. But really, the idea of moving well comes from Tai Chi and Shiatsu and things like that. But everybody usually says, "Oh, that yoga class felt really nice," or "I didn't know I could do something so challenging without forcing myself," or "It felt nice to move from my center in harmony." So I usually don't, especially in just an open class, say, "Okay, now we're going to be doing Tai Chi and Shiatsu and learning all of these things," because I just think that's, kind of too
Yeah,
much located in the mind. So we just move and breathe and feel good in that way.
that's really cool. Do you, when you, what is your timeline in terms of how long have you been practicing and how long have you been teaching?
Oh gosh, well, I think like a lot of people's yoga story, I got really lucky finding yoga. It was in my ballet program growing up. So I was thinking I was going to be a contemporary dancer. That was my whole life stream. And my ballet teacher brought yoga into our program. I guess I was 17, 18. And instantly, just like everybody else who does yoga, I felt like this is amazing. And then my second thought was, why don't all my friends do this? Why, I felt like my family had these values, had these philosophical ideas about life, but we weren't doing this physical practice that I felt could just kind of crack everything open and really guide life. So I just wanted to learn more and share this kind of all at the same time. So that kind of just kicked me off and learning more about it. And then at first, kind of casually sharing what I was learning with people. And then more and more things led me to doing that with more of my time. So yeah,
Very
since
cool.
the beginning of my life, my teenage life, a million
That's
years ago.
that's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
That's a nice time. That's a fair timeline. Then in that, so obviously you got introduced to yoga first. Can you give me a kind of timeline view of an order of different modalities that you then started to pursue and study?
Sure. Yeah, yoga was the first big practice for sure. And then I got to New York pretty shortly after to dance and do other things. But I was always kind of asking people, "Hey, do you do yoga? Where do you do yoga? If you don't do yoga, let's do a little bit together," this kind of a thing. And I think because New York has everything, I was starting to find shiatsu places and some Ayurvedic practitioners and all of these kind of, modalities one by one. And I think like a lot of people who start to learn one and then learn the others, you wonder, okay, are these connected? How are they connected? They don't appear to be in isolation from each other. How can we, or how can I live in more harmony with myself and not just practice to be more knowledgeable about these modalities, but to integrate them actually in my life and to feel better and live a good life of purpose? And how can I start to communicate that in a sensible way to other people if that starts to make sense to me? So I think I got lucky again, just being in New York and having these people also just come to my class and say, "Oh, the way that you like to touch people in yoga feels like shiatsu." And I think maybe I should learn shiatsu because I didn't like to
Yeah.
kind of push people into poses. I like to kind of just be with somebody right there and lean a little bit. Oh, if I can maybe just lean on a meridian, maybe that would be a little bit better. So I started to learn about that. And then Mike, my husband, grew up doing Tai Chi, and he kept saying to me, "Oh, how you really like this easygoing movement within yoga, not being kind of fixed in the final position and having this idea that there isn't one final position." He's like, "Tara, that's Tai Chi." And I'm thinking, okay, maybe I should learn a little bit more about Tai Chi. So as you kind of glide into these things, there's a forever lifetime practice and study of it. So I think that's just what's so cool about kind of understanding that all of these wisdoms really can come together and help you live a better life for sure.
Nice. How long have you been married?
Oh gosh. So Mike always gets mad at me because I forget.
Put you on the spot.
No, no.
Take your time.
So
Take your time
no,
doing the
no,
math.
I don't read. Deep press. No, we got married in 2008. And
Cool.
yeah, we had like the city hall thing, just super simple.
Yeah.
And then I dragged my family to this cool kind of hippie place in Jamaica because a lot of them hadn't left America. So we all kind of just did a pretend wedding there. It was just kind of to get everybody out of the country and to have fun and jump in the ocean together. So that was fun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. And do you guys have children?
Yeah, we have one little girl, Daisy. She's almost 6, so she's at school right
Oh,
now.
congratulations. Right? Yeah, you actually have a moment. She's at school. I can do a podcast. Yeah,
Yeah.
like what? I hear ya. Does she travel with you? Well, actually, it sounds like you went to Singapore alone.
I did. Yeah. So that one was, I mean, it's super far to go to Singapore, and she's actually been to Singapore, but in my inside of my tummy. But she's been around with us to most places. So a lot of Europe and things like that. But yeah, Singapore was just a little bit too far. And we're lucky, Mike and I and her are all kind of, we're all together all the time. So it's pretty easy for us to decide if one person's going to go or if we're all going to go or who can kind of hang out with who. And she really wanted to go, but we compromised. I said, well, if I bring you some really cool interesting presents from Asia, would that be okay? She said, only if you bring me presents.
Yeah,
So it was
too
also
far.
nice to just have some time, uh just to myself with everybody, and to be able to stay and
Yeah,
talk and go out to dinner and just have days with people, just focusing on grown-ups too. So that was nice.
good point. Yeah, sometimes when the children are around, we've had this feeling of when teaching is done or the class is over, I gotta hurry up and get home. There's so many
Sure.
duties to do at home. So I hear you. It's nice to have a little break like that. I'm curious. I'm just starting to get on YouTube and put content on YouTube. And so then when I found you on there, I was like, whoa, Tara's got a huge following on YouTube. Can you tell me how that came to be for you? Was it something that happened really naturally for you and you were really early in and just started putting content up and it just started to explode, or have you had to work really hard at it?
Oh gosh, well, yeah, I definitely started at the very beginning of YouTube. That was my growing up. When I came to New York, it was still, I mean, definitely wasn't social media. There was email and flip cams and things like that. And
Yeah.
when 2006 happened, I learned about YouTube, and it was literally just funny cat videos and things like that. So I was starting to share yoga, and I was thinking about my friends back home who couldn't come to New York. And obviously they couldn't, there was no yoga studios. So I would make these short videos just with my flip cam or with the camera on the MacBook and upload them. So I just started there. And again, it wasn't, and it still is not meant to be some strategy or even a business or an idea for that. It was literally just to share videos with my friends back home.
Yeah.
And the people started watching, which was cool. And because it was the internet back then, I didn't know if those people were real or if it was just my mom. You know what I mean? So it was that kind of people watching those and making a little bit of comments kind of led me to what felt more real for me, which was work writing for magazines and making some books and having people in the studio that were starting to come because they had saw a video online. So to me, that was real. And the online stuff was like, okay, that's cool, but online is exciting for me if it leads to in-person hugging and
Mm.
doing yoga with people. So once the in-person stuff started to kind of take over, and more things with the studio started growing, I kind of just stopped making YouTube videos because I didn't have any time anymore to do that, and it was sort of a means to do this. I guess that's how it kind of ended up. So yeah, I don't really think about YouTube so much, but if there's something to upload, sometimes I do, but I don't really put any energy to it. But it's been great for me in this way of meeting people. And I still meet people just randomly on the street that are in their 20s now. And they'll say to me, oh my gosh, when I was 14 in my bedroom, I found this video and they would search like yoga for breakups or something, and their boyfriend or girlfriend had broken up with them, and they're standing there with like their mom, and their mom is like, who is this person you're talking to, and what were you doing with my daughter online? Like 10 years ago. So for me, I think it's really wonderful that a lot of people that hadn't been able to come to yoga studio, or now people are just so easy at using online, can literally just search around and find somebody that they relate to and give it a try and have this really profound connection with themselves. And maybe that leads to coming to something in person or connecting in some other way. But yeah, I'm really grateful for all of these people that I get to meet now who have kind of discovered yoga in some way from those times that I was also discovering yoga. So that's really cool. But I'm sure it's going to be the same, or it will be the same, or has been for you as well. It's just such a beautiful way to connect, and then it kind of keeps going like that as long as you are interested in talking with people, for sure.
That's cool, Tara. That's actually really refreshing to hear because it sounds like the way that you came at it from that organic approach and not really trying too hard and more just the enjoyment factor is nice to hear. Because sometimes it seems like now you see all these courses and things you can do to like how do you do it and how do you do it so that you're a superstar and that type of thing. And I liked, or it's nice to hear that it's been a natural process for you.
Yeah, I think anybody that has something to share can just share it. I think there's so much, because it's just been around for longer, there's going to be that harder to get in fear mindset or whatever it is. I don't know, but I think it still is YouTube. I mean, you just put a video up, it really is difficult. You don't need to go and get somebody's permission for it. So if you've got something to share it. I think that's just, the easiest way to connect with people still. So
One
go
thing
for
I thought, oh, thank you. One thing I thought that was really cool that Yuladi had said was that when she was searching for a yoga teacher training program, and then she reached out to you and you had just encouraged her, like she thought she had to do a headstand in the middle of a room for 30 minutes to kind of prove that she was worthy. And you had taken this approach of like, well, if you're passionate about yoga, come join us. And she had made mention that you encouraged each of the teacher trainers to start to and promote themselves via a platform such as YouTube or anything else that's out there. Is that something that you still do with your teacher training students that are joining you? Do you encourage them to learn how to market themselves and get their message out there?
Yeah, I think it's definitely really useful part of the conversation. And now that we've grown and people know about Strala and things like that, it's a day that we spend in the training, and it's the strangest thing. It's the time to talk about yourself and how you're going to do this, and everybody gets quiet, and everybody, more quiet than they're normally with us, and they kind of lean in really close, and they have their notebook, and it's time to write down everything. And hopefully by the end of it, we figure out together that you really can create your own path, and there isn't one way, and you don't need to have followers in order to have success, and you can do things in so many different ways. And I'm happy to share not just my story of online to in person, but so many other people's stories of whether it's teaching in your local community to 4 or 5 people, and then those people live an amazing life, and then you can take those 4 or 5 people on a retreat somewhere, or maybe some of them want to do a training with you, and that's enough to sustain you, whether that's your only job or you want that to be your only job, or if it's part of your life in this way. And what I've really learned with sharing sort of how to get yourself out there is it's really horrible to just have this goal of one path, which is, whether it's, following these online courses and you must do it this way in order to succeed. And it just seems
Mm,
so devastating and also
good
not
point. Yeah.
not uh not necessary. I know so many people that are unknown in the world, but they have these beautiful, happy, and also successful lives and businesses and families and all of these things from sharing yoga. So it doesn't need to be one way, and we don't even need to idolize people who are kind of out there and things like that. I think that's sort of if that's part of what you enjoy about leading, and I'm just a big ham, and I think because I was a dancer, I'm used to kind of presenting myself this way, but that's me. And I don't think that everybody is like that. And it shouldn't even be a goal. I don't think it's better than a local yoga teacher reaching 10 people. If I can reach more online, who cares? If you're helping somebody in a real way, then that's massive. So I think there's a real value in just sharing that there's so many different ways to be a leader and to really have a good impact, for sure.
That's a great answer, Tara. Super. That makes me feel a lot more relaxed. All of a sudden,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
not that I was
especially
stressing out
now.
about it, but yeah.
I know, it's like, and it's only going to get scarier and scarier the
Mm,
more and the
yeah.
quicker all the
Yeah.
trends get. And I
Yeah.
mean, I'm freaked out all the time too. I mean, it's intense out there, and you can see people. It used to be, I mean, you might
Yeah.
probably remember this, 10 years ago, selfies were almost embarrassing. Okay, if I'm going to take a selfie, I'm going to kind of hide and do it, or I'm going to do my
Mm.
yoga pose on the street and kind of hide. And now it's just commonplace to be filming every moment of your life. And maybe for a few people that's healthy, but for the most of us, that's just not healthy at all. So I think it's really important to just figure out how you want to live and know that that's whatever that answer is the best way to live for you, for
Yes.
sure.
Yes. Great point. I just finished reading a book called The Myth of Normal by Gabor Mate. Have you heard of that one?
I haven't, but I'm going to read it now. Thank
And
you.
it's a good one. And he really is bringing to light how big T trauma and little t trauma plays a role in our current health and wellness. And you do get a chance to work with a lot of people and travel around and see, what different yoga communities are doing and having the online interaction. I'm curious what are you seeing today in the world in terms of how much yoga can play a positive role in stress management and grappling some of these challenges of facing challenging past and how to move forward today.
Yeah. Well, I think what's so interesting about the opportunity is, I mean, this is kind of oversimplifying, but we can do yoga in a way where we're kind of isolating and disconnecting and saying, well, that pose is better than this pose. And if I get there, that's going to be good. So if I can't get there yet, I'm going to make this modification, but tomorrow, maybe I can get there. And that whole mindset is kind of horrible for healing in this way. You may be opening up more space or flexibility, but it's really about, I'm not good enough now, but tomorrow or the next day I'll be good enough. And look at that person over there that can do it. And if I can only do that, then I'll be healed or I'll be better. So why don't you come over and push me into that pose so I can get into it now, and all of this stuff. And obviously there's thankfully a huge reckoning within yoga and all of that kind of pushing and forcing and struggling. But what I love about the opportunity is when you really start to move in more harmony with yourself, you feel good immediately and you progress in a way where you're moving all the parts of you together, which also allows you to feel something, not just feel good and feel amazing, but you notice how you feel and then you can respond to how you feel as well. And that's what I've always loved about leading yoga in general, even before I figured out I should study Tai Chi and the healing arts, which like directly say this all the time. Yoga, for some reason, even though the opportunity is there, we haven't heard it so loud. It's more about, you see the pose and you say, okay, if I can get into that, then something good's going to happen for me. Or if I can sit and
Mm,
meditate, then something good's going to happen. But when you kind of move around all the positions and treat the whole practice as a practice, not just a collection of individual endpoints, then wow, there's this huge opportunity to notice what's going on with you. And I just love leading like that because then I don't have to do anything. I don't have to say, okay, this is going to help your trauma, your ideas, because that just makes people think, okay, am I supposed to be healing something or thinking about something right now? But then after a
mm,
practice
that's a
is
good
my
point.
favorite moment of just kind of hanging around. And if people want to come up, or I kind of just move around and just kind of am there if anybody wants to say anything. But people always talk about themselves in this really cool opening way of, oh, I was doing this position and it made me think of this, or I'm going through this right now and I haven't told anybody. and it really just opens up the space to process and talk and heal in this very kind of real and normal way, not an I am healing myself. It's sort of like, wow, oh my gosh, I think I'm healing myself. So it
Yeah.
becomes possible for sure.
Yeah. That's a really good answer. Have you had any challenges in your life where you have been injured and you have been able to heal yourself?
I thankfully haven't been injured, and I think that's basically only because I'm pretty lazy. Like I'm not going to force myself to do all those, I'm thinking about when I first started doing yoga in New York, and there was more of that kind of really intense positions. And I'm pretty flexible because I was a dancer. So teachers would say, "Oh, Tara, like put your feet on your head," and I'd just be like, "No, I don't feel like it." And at that time, it was like, "Well, why are you doing that?" I just didn't want to hurt
Mm,
myself. I mean, I was younger, so I probably wouldn't have, but I just wasn't interested in kind of pushing or forcing. So I've thankfully avoided
that's cool.
so far. But I have gotten close to exhausting myself, I think, just from pure excitement of opportunity and doing things and being busy. And I think I don't think I reached a point of burnout or kind of hardcore health concern, but I definitely got close. And I was thinking, wait a minute, like
Mm,
I'm really trying to help myself and other people slow down and feel better, but I'm moving a million miles a minute, and I'm busying myself just to distract myself from something else. So I kind of noticed that that's my natural tendency too. I love to kind of do and be doing things. So for me, it comes down to body position. If I'm leaning forward and I'm busy and I'm doing, I need to just recenter myself, lean back a little bit, and then kind of, command the spaceship from there. So
yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
constant, that part of it is a constant, reflection for myself. But that's the fun part for
That's
sure.
cool. When you do you teach your students and or trainees how to do hands-on assists?
Yeah. So what I love about knowing or not knowing, but studying Tai Chi and Shiatsu is, first of all, having this approach of connecting before you actually touch somebody. So how you move in the space, how you just are as a person, how you're standing up and coming down to the ground, how you're walking near somebody to touch them is all kind of in the umbrella of actual physical touch. So I love that kind of whole exploration. I mean, I could lead workshops for days on making good connection with somebody without actually touching them. And people are like, oh my gosh, it feels like somebody's touching me, like when you have somebody around you. So I love that. And then all the physical touch comes from the practice of shiatsu. So it's not so much like pressure points and doing stuff, but leaning on somebody's back or moving them in a direction so they can make a choice if they want to go further or back off or change their body position, kind of things like that. And then some more easier things to do when somebody's lying down or in a more stable position where you can lean on meridians without somebody thinking, oh, I didn't sign up for some shiatsu treatment, but that feels really nice on my back, I don't know what's going on. So
Mm,
those kind of things. But it's really nice, especially now that the whole conversation has exploded around good touch and bad touch, around
yeah.
how can you actually create a good environment or a safe environment just through how you are in the space and how you as the leader are just moving around and paying attention to people,
Mm,
and what kind of level are you putting yourself on, like physically, are you walking by somebody's head, or are you kind of moving around, or are you crawling around a little bit? So there's so much I love exploring there that really helps people just understand basic body awareness, where they are in space and where other people are. And you can have really good intentions and still mess the whole thing up. So there's so much to just practice, with moving around, and then also with the physical connection too. I love it though.
That's cool. It sounds like you're putting a little more emphasis on let's actually have fun
Yeah.
and then
Right.
kind of
Imagine
dancing
that.
around that a little bit. Like let's actually have fun first versus this really like serious, hardcore, like mastery element, or maybe encouraging mastery through lightheartedness or
Yeah, I think it's really cool. For me, I love putting the emphasis on moving well instead of trying to get into a version of an endpoint. So if you move well from your center, you can rock forward and back and explore a handstand. But if you just try to get both legs up in a handstand, then after you do that, what else is there? So if you rock forward and back and have your knees bent, move from your middle, then, Yolati can explore, she's doing that. And then all of a sudden she's inventing like opening her legs and doing all this stuff. And nobody really taught her that, but you kind of teach the foundation
Mm,
of moving well. And that, I think, makes you feel happier or makes you feel
mm,
lighthearted. But really, the practice is in this very simple thing of figuring out, which you can always get better at your whole life, which is how can you move yourself better in every single moment using the right amount of effort and no extra tension. And that's kind of a forever fun practice for sure. It is. I think it is fun anyway. I get excited
right?
about it. Not
That's
everybody
cool.
does, but I do.
That's awesome. When I watch your YouTube videos, your language skill is so like clear and concise, and like the cadence and rhythm that you speak with is really like I enjoy just like even if I close my eyes and I'm not watching the video, like the way that you talk and deliver is seems really smooth. We do a teacher training program, and when the students are learning, there's they one of the things I'll hear from them is I thought it was gonna be really easy to talk, and now that I'm actually trying to lead with my voice, I'm finding that all those words that I heard my teacher say, I thought they would just come out automatically, and it's a little bit harder than I thought. What type of, tips and tricks do you use to help get people to feel comfortable to just start speaking fluidly and fluently the way that it seems like you've gotten good at?
Oh, well, that's nice. I mean, I'm getting better at it for sure. I look at things I've done. I mean, because my whole life doing this has been on video like 10 years ago, and I feel like I'm talking like an auctioneer.
When you go back and listen to it, like, you're critical
Like, what
of
am I doing? Yeah. Oh, for sure. Definitely.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I feel like now what we lead in the trainings, the language is the very last thing, not the very, very last thing, but I
mm,
delay it as much as possible because something that I think is really useful is if you can really do the thing that you're doing with your breath body connection, then you could describe it. And when you're literally only describing what you're doing, then you have a chance at connecting with people. And
mm,
I think the easiest mistake to make for yoga teachers is telling people what to think and what to feel. And that takes so much time as well. And yoga teachers often think, well, if I
mm,
don't tell somebody how to think and how to feel, my class isn't going to be special or it's not going to be connected or this spiritual moment. But I found just the opposite. If somebody tells me how to think and feel, either I agree with them 100%, I'm like, yes, the light is coming down, or I'm like, what are they talking about? Or I'm disconnected. But if somebody can guide me through step by step what to do and they can stay open, it helps me stay open. And then all of a sudden, wow, I'm connecting with myself. And even in our trainings, people that have signed up, they really resist this idea of only describing what you're doing because they think that's not special enough. It's got to be more. And I'm thinking, well, you're the more. And if you're teaching people literally how to move themselves well,
yeah.
and what you're teaching is the breath body connection, well, that's the yoga right there. And everything else is happening. You are a body, you are a mind, you are a spirit. You don't need to tell somebody now feel spiritual. It's like that's already happening if you're out of the way. So I think it's simple really when we let ourselves just describe what we're doing because it puts the emphasis back on, well, what are you doing and where are your bad habits and how are you doing this in a disconnected way, because whatever your bad habits are, you're going to just teach those and pass those on to your students as well. So really figure out how to move yourself well and then describe what the heck you're doing and then simplify, it sounds so cheesy, but like in an Ernest Hemingway way, like say it in as few words as possible. So you have this extra space for awareness practice. And you have this moment when you're not speaking, it doesn't feel like dead space. It feels like you're holding the room with your breath and with your attention. And then you have more time to just look around the room and see how you can be useful instead of just saying words for no reason like I am right now. Sorry.
No, that's a great answer. I think that's really amazing advice to just focus on step-by-step procedure and what the movement is versus like what you're saying and talking about how you should feel, how you should think. I agree with that 100%. That's really cool. I'm how was your experience going through COVID? I'm guessing you guys already had an online presence, so maybe it could have been an amazing experience because you already had platforms in place to work with people online and at home. How did you first of all, do you feel like it's over? Like, do you feel like we've turned that full corner? Are you still feeling like we're navigating the after effects or the current effects? How are you thinking and feeling about all that these days?
My gosh, it's so nice. I mean, it was horrible for us, honestly. We missed everybody, and we were doing so much in person that all just, it wasn't that, and everybody has the same experience. It wasn't that it all just went away overnight. It was that we were all kind of tugged around and postponed and, then cancel, then move it again, and all of these things. And so it was no fun to kind of navigate that. And of course, everybody understood and nobody was upset at us for canceling. So those feelings weren't there, but it was just sad not to be able to get together and things like that. And yeah, we had all of our online things happening. We started our app then, so we hadn't done that. We had videos online kind of one at a time and trainings and workshops you could download or just view, on demand, but we switched to an app platform, which was good. It gave us kind of something to do. And then, magically, it seemed like, I don't know if you had the same experience, but the live technology just happened to be there right away.
Yeah.
So we did live classes every day just because, most of the people that we practice with were available to do that. And it just felt like that kind of sense of connection. So
Yeah.
we did a lot of that, and we did, like basically everything that we could to just hang out with people online that wanted to be there. And also we just spent a lot of time together as a family to do stuff. So that was a nice reflection moment for us to
Mm.
simplify in a way. And we got this house here in Illinois. So we'd wanted to move out of New York City for a while, but we hadn't kind of figured out a destination. Um, so it was one of these moments where I never would have thought of, oh, let's go hang out with family. But then I thought, I want to hang out with family. Let's do that. So we did. And that's been really, really nice. So kind of these obvious things bubbled up to the surface because I wasn't busying myself, kind of pinballing around the world to
Yeah.
help in certain ways. So
Good point. Do you currently keep a pretty solid travel schedule? If you had to make a basic assumption on the percentage of time that you're able to hang out in Illinois and enjoy the country versus time that you're on the road, is it half half? Is it like 30% travel? And how busy are you keeping yourself these days?
oh my gosh. Well, now everything, at least for me, I'm getting invited to things again, which is exciting. And I also get to do a lot of things that aren't really yoga related, going to business conferences and Fortune magazine and things like that. And I'll be the one that comes in and does like the 10-minute chill out session on stage. So I really love that because I get to talk to
Mm, that's cool.
other kinds of people. And that's really fun for me too. If I can help somebody who's really stressed out, who's in HR, if I can help them chill out a little bit, then everybody
Mm,
that they support will chill out a little bit. So I'm getting invited to those things and book events. I'm leading some yoga in New York in March and then in April in Charleston and some book events and things like that. So I'm happy to be doing unique kind of things again. And then, yeah, these conferences and things are inviting me. And then with Strala, we've been really careful not to overpack a schedule too. So we're only doing 200-hour training a year now, which is a huge change for us. We were doing like, I don't know, lots and lots of trainings and workshops and intensives. And we have this one in Miami coming up in May, and then Berlin in September, and then next fall in Berlin for 200-hour. So we're kind of keeping that super simple and easy. Also, a lot of our instructors are leading their own Strala trainings now. So we're trying to create space for them to have success in communities. So that's been really exciting. But then I thought, oh, I'm just going to be at home. What else am I going to do? But then, of course, I'm invited to all of these other kind of non-Strala related things, which have been exciting. But I do have to watch out for, overpacking my life again because that happens to me sometimes.
that's amazing, Tara. I bet. Can in relation to you coming to Miami, I was really excited when I went on your website to reach out to you to do this conversation, and I saw that you guys were going to be in Miami. So I thought, well, that's good serendipity. And I'm curious if I wanted, if I could or can come down and meet you guys in person, can I come for a day? Because my schedule
Yeah,
is
that'd
going
be
to be here.
nice.
Is that possible?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah,
I know
we're
you're
at the
going to be,
Standard
yeah,
Hotel, which will be fun. Yeah, we've
right?
been going there for about 10 years, just doing it. First, we used to just bring down people from New York for a weekend retreat, like a yoga class, then go in the pool, then go for yoga again, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
And we're doing a training there. But yeah, come on down for the day or whatever you feel like. That'd be nice. Be
that
nice
would
to
be
see you.
cool. I would love that. In relation to, you mentioned that you utilize hatha yoga or teaching posture and movement practice, and then we have these different branches like bhakti yoga and karma yoga, raja yoga. Are there other branches or avenues that you really connect with or that you utilize on in your daily life?
Oh gosh, I think what's been most appealing to me, at least in the last 5, 10 years, has been the Tai Chi and the Shiatsu, and really seeing that if I focus on moving better and connecting my breath and body together, my yoga gets better. I mean, I'm actually stronger when I do yoga. I get less tired when I'm doing it. And I can actually, it kind of is the foundation for anything else I want to practice in a way. I can meditate and it feels easier to sit there. And I'm not trying to just, sit and meditate, but if I'm doing this breath body connection when I'm crawling out of bed and standing up and, a few moments of these little practices here and there, those practices just help me with the yoga, which is my most fun thing, I think, because with yoga, you can move your body in all these different directions, which feels really good and helpful in all the different areas. And I think that's one lack about Tai Chi. It's this great practice for your life, but it's mainly the practice of it is mainly standing. But
Mm,
the philosophy of it, connecting your breath and body together, shifting your weight before you move,
mm,
this back to go forward, down to go up, all of these kind of skills of it can help with everything. So I like to practice a little bit of Tai Chi just to figure that out again every day in my body, and Shiatsu with just leaning on myself in different ways. And then I feel like I'm good to go with the yoga and with the just regular movements of life and things like that.
that's cool. Can you explain a little bit more, like when you say leaning on myself in different ways in relation to shiatsu? I've always envisioned shiatsu as a form of therapy where there's someone receiving shiatsu from the giver or the practitioner. But the way you said that, it made me think that you lean your body maybe against the edge of the door jamb, or you lean your body on like a foam
Exactly.
roll, or like figure out ways to do self shiatsu. Was my visualization of that correct? Or
Yeah, that's all totally right on. I mean, I like to call it just for myself DIY shiatsu. You don't have anybody handy to do it with you. And but what I learned from our teacher Sam Berlin, he's the great shiatsu practitioner and teacher too, is any kind of more pointy place on your body, like your elbow, your thumb, to any soft place. And there's meridians everywhere, so you can't really do it wrong. And it's easy to kind of do this in your yoga practice too. I mean, if you're just sitting cross-legged and you lean your forearm on your thigh, it's going to feel useful or nice in some way. And then there's really easy places. I mean, the feet are really easy, like the center of your foot below the ball of your foot, that kidney meridian. You can kind of just sneaky lean in with your thumb when you're just sitting down or doing pigeon or whatever. And then, oh my gosh, I feel more energized. What's going on? And kind of just doing these things here and there. I mean, movement also just activates your meridian. So that's useful. But any of these, you can lean on an object like a couch or a foam roller, sure. But even just with your own body, like elbows or thumbs or kind of sides of your forearms onto your body somewhere, just any way where it kind of feels intuitive and nice is usually useful. And then I think it's kind of cool if you experiment and play around and say, well, what's going on that part of my leg or that part of my back, and then you open up one of those acupuncture charts and you're like, oh, that's going on. That's interesting. And
yeah,
maybe it relates, maybe it doesn't, but you can't really do it wrong unless you're really aggressively, pushing yourself, or being mean to yourself in some way. But these gentle leans are just really nice. And I think it's just such a good metaphor too, to lean on yourself and lean on the floor, and even back to back leaning on a partner, noticing that you don't have to hold yourself up with your will and your ego, and without your breath body connections. It's such a relief in a way. Just leaning on myself, I feel less alone than if I'm just doing yoga, trying to kind of balance myself
Yeah.
without any help. You get more help if you lean.
That's such a nice way to think of it. Like if I'm stressing out, I feel like I'm alone, just lean on myself a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's a song about that, right? Lean on me. But it's so true. I mean,
That's awesome.
yeah, I learned. I mean, I think I take all the shiatsu trainings with
Mm.
Sam, and then I come up with these weird ideas, and I ask him, like, does leaning on yourself make you feel less alone? And he's like, duh, Tara. You're like, are there meridians everywhere in your body? Yes, Tara. So like, you just do it a little bit, and then we all kind of figure out these things, which is cool. Or you figure out new things that you haven't thought of yet, or just it's all meant to help you in your life. So I think that's why it's super cool.
That's awesome. I'm reading a book right now about chakras, the chakra system by Anodea. Oh man, I'll have to put her name in the show notes. I'm sorry, Anodea. Her last name. Have you studied and or are do you like the chakras or anything when you come across that sort of information? Does it intrigue you, or what are your thoughts about that whole part of yoga?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously real. Like, I believe in it for sure. I think it's a real thing. I like relating to it through things that are also real. So like, shiatsu, I think is a great way for me to relate through the chakras, and Tai Chi practice and yoga practice and things like that. So I've kind of just naturally steered away from more workshops that are not that they're not based in reality, but kind of go off on
Mm.
different philosophies or new ideas and things like that. Not that they're not real either, but I just like to base it into something that I can touch and feel and experience, and have a real idea about it, because it is a really interesting understanding of your body and how things work. And we've all had that experience when you're lined up in, whether you're standing somewhere and having a feel good moment, or you're doing yoga and you're like, oh my gosh, something just happened. I'm all lined up and I feel like I'm in a channel of something. So I think it's
Yeah,
really cool, especially when you find a good book or a good teacher that
yeah,
understands these things and isn't kind of messing around. So
good point.
it's a it can be a very abstract concept. And we know there's lots of people that are predatory out there in our kind of field, but there are a lot of really good teachers, famous and not famous as well, that can really help us understand all of these things a little bit easier.
That's where I was kind of wondering where you see the connection and similarity to meridian therapy, and in terms of points along the line, all either like connecting the dots in some special way in real, and also I guess with the chakra system there's like one central line, and obviously we have nadis, and we could probably say that the whole nadi system and the meridian system is the same thing. So I definitely see the connection there. I was just curious what you've learned over the years in relation to the shiatsu meridian therapy, uh, and into like understanding those sort of lines and how you translate that when, say, you are teaching a class and you are going to use hands-on touch. Do you like intuit some sort of like line connection, or are you working off the line? Say, like if I look at a book and I look at the line and I can kind of see that there's a line that goes like up the back of the leg and it connects around the hip and goes across this channel along the front of the body in some way. And but then when I actually go to palpate it or try to find that on someone, I find that I have to try to, what am I feeling? Like I'll ask myself, like, do I feel something? Or is it my imagination? And what has been your discovery? And I know it's probably a daily thing, but I'm curious what do you lean on? What trying to figure all that out?
Yeah, well, what I've learned is it's you don't learn anything just doing something once. I mean, having somebody around to just practice on. I mean, I'm happy to have Mike because I've taken, Sam's workshop to like hundreds of times, but every single time I'm not great at it. I like learning about it, so I get better. And the fact that I get better, I think that that's really cool. And again, having somebody to practice on, because the interesting thing about connection is I'm not doing something to the other person. And if I think that I am, it's just manipulation. It's not going to work. It may be a mechanical thing, but it's not going to be a useful thing for either of us. And that's how, yoga teachers and body workers burn out. Like, we think I'm going to go and help this person over here get into the right position. But if you can kind of lean next to somebody and lean on them, and then you make a connection with yourself, make sure you're kind of cozy and okay, and then you kind of just put your attention on the other person. Has their breathing changed? Have they adjusted themselves? Is something happening? And if they are, showing signs of being more relaxed and something has changed, it doesn't need to be that something has changed, but just
Mm,
has their breathing deepened? Are they moving
yeah.
around a little bit in a comfortable way? Then something's happening. And for me, it's, I feel like I have a little bag of tricks with shiatsu, especially in final relaxation. If somebody's told me before class they're really anxious, there's this place on the underside of your foot where you can I can lean and away from somebody, and it helps to kind of tune off that busy part of their mind. And I know, okay, if their breathing's changed and they're moving around a little bit, usually after class they're kind of like, oh, it feels so good, I don't know why. Or they come up and they say, I've never switched off before. Or maybe they don't say anything, and that's fine too. Or, just knowing little tricks like that. Again, if somebody's kind of depleted on the energy, like knowing where that kidney meridian is and just leaning into it. Sometimes you can see a big reaction, sometimes not a big reaction. I
Yeah.
mean, the worst that can happen is somebody's like, oh, what are you doing? Like, why are you leaning on me? And then I know that I've like, my approach was wrong, or I just misjudged the fact that they wanted to be connected with in that way. So,
Mm,
it's a forever practice for sure. I mean, even in Singapore, I was talking with a girl before and she was telling me how stressed out she was. And it's definitely my mistake, because I was thinking, oh, I'm going to come to her at the end and do like the foot thing. And I came to her at the end and did the foot thing, and she like jumped a mile and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, no, it's my fault. It's like, you don't have to be sorry. It's my fault, because I was too excited to go and help her, So it
yeah.
always works when you're, it's not a hard thing, but it's something to get excited about. I think just practicing making good connections, and
Yeah.
like the where you touch people. I mean, it's obvious, or it should be obvious. I'm not going to come and touch somebody's belly, or I'm not going to touch somebody's, probably not going to touch somebody's front of their body so much, but the back of the body's an easier place, or
Yeah.
their back, or their hips, or something like that. So if you can kind of start to practice in these easier places in the yoga context, then when you have somebody that you're more comfortable with at home, just playing around, and maybe you can connect with their belly and their heart in the middle, and do a more kind
Yeah.
of curious, more shiatsu kind of practice. But I think it's, even just in a casual setting, putting yourself next to somebody, we've all like put our hand on somebody's back and figuring out, okay, is it appropriate to put my hand on somebody's back? Am I pushing
Yeah.
them down, or am I
Yeah.
comforting them?
Yeah.
We've all had good touch and bad touch like that. So,
Yeah.
if we can practice it off the mat, we have a better chance of doing it right on the mat with more of the time, I think.
Great point. All good points. That was excellent. Good
Thanks.
answers. Good answer.
Thanks.
I had someone. This is a big question. I am a licensed massage therapist.
Cool.
I had someone in a yoga training situation say, "But Todd, you're a licensed massage therapist, so you're allowed to go up and touch people in a yoga class. But is it legal for me to touch someone in a yoga class?" And the way that I don't, so I apologize to you and the listeners. I don't know the exact black and white rule, at least in my state. Like, but what I do understand, or what I get a sense of, is that if I ask for permission and there's consent and you make eye contact and you say, yes, I'm okay with you, either putting a hand on me or helping me in this pose, that at that point, I kind of lean on that that's where I say it is okay or isn't okay. Like if you've received consent, have you come across this in your trainings and or in discussions in the yoga world? What are your thoughts on this?
Oh yeah. Well, I think especially since, and thankfully there's been more conversation about this in the last, 10 years or so, even 5 years or so. In Europe, I remember in a training a few years ago, the studio that we rented out had these new like paddles, and it was like green, red, green, red.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah,
like,
we have
okay, that's
yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
like ping pong paddle.
Paddles, like, no, touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me. So, and they're kind of comical in a way and can be really useful in a way as well. But I think a bigger conversation is, well, how are you going to touch me? It's not just where and when, but if it's going to be good, yes, I would like you to touch me. If it's not going to be good, I don't want you to
Yeah,
touch me.
good point.
How are they going to know if it's good or not? And, I think that comes with, if you're talking to students, it's, well, where are you teaching? Is it somebody else's space? And absolutely, you're not in charge there. You need to play by the rules of whatever's going on. And if you're not allowed to touch people, but you want to, there's so much you can do with creating a good environment with how you stand next to somebody. So forget about this desire to go and touch somebody, but create a good relationship with everything that you do. And then touch is just one thing kind of on the continuum of that. So I think that's always been my
Mm,
approach with touch. It's not, you shouldn't need consent for something that you're doing that's useful. But if you're doing something that is questionable if it's useful or not, then I understand a world where you would
mm,
want consent. If somebody's going to come behind me and pull my hips into their body, I don't want that. I don't think very many people want that. But that was a very normal kind of yoga adjustment up until, I don't know, maybe it's still happening. So it's sort of like, well, what's going to happen and how are you going to connect with me in this way? And I definitely, especially with a newer group, I'll err on the side of not touching as much. And if I'm with a group for a couple weeks in a row, then that'll get more and more just depending on what's happening. But also I'll notice that people are touching each other more. They're just sitting closer to each other. They're kind of leaning on each other's backs a little bit or hugging a bit more. And if that's happening, then I'll see that as a sign where I can go in and connect with somebody's ankles or, lower back or something like that. But I think
nice.
there's this whole thing that goes into, well, what are you doing in the first place and how are you doing it? That's much more interesting than can I or can't I touch somebody?
Yep. Good point. Good point. And Tara, I'm just extremely thankful for you to take time. I want to make sure I respect your time. And I know we niched out an hour to talk together, and it's getting close to that point. And I'm just curious if you have a vision for the future. What would you like to see if you could, like, if you could just totally be a dreamer, and we don't have to worry about like if we're being too dreamy. I'm curious, what would you dream?
Well, I think it's interesting. I mean, not that I'm, been doing this for forever, but even in the last 20 years, I've seen so much change for the positive. And young people now come into this practice for the most part and they say, I want to feel good. I want to feel better. And I'm here for my mental health, my physical health. I'm here. Let's do this. And that wasn't always the case 20 years ago. It felt like if you were doing these practices, it was very serious and it was very much in order to be good at these practices. It was sort of like, I'm doing yoga in order to be good at yoga or to show my teacher that I'm a good student and things like that. And I really think there's so much progress in why people are coming to these practices. They're coming for themselves and to live a good life and to be in their bodies fully, and then put away the practice and say, okay, how can I be in the world and use my gifts for good? And what am I doing with myself? And how can I just make that part of my life? And it's normal. And it's not this separate part of my yoga life. I don't have yoga friends and then other friends. I'm sort of becoming a more connected me the whole time. And I just believe that that's already happening. And so many of us are excited and trying to guide that change and happening as well. And it's definitely a group effort, and it takes all of us in order to do that in all these different ways with all these different people. And I think in 20 more years that all of these practices will be so normal and easy and just be practiced in homes and with each other, and more guides and more teachers. And that can just be such a simple part of life, like drink water, do your practice, kind of a thing. So that's my hope and dream for sure.
That is great. I like the way you put that uh out because it seems like we've achieved it already and it's only going to get better. Like
Yeah.
we've achieved it, we're achieving it, it's still happening.
Yeah, yoga teachers are nice now. 20 years ago, I was scared to death of most yoga teachers. They wouldn't talk to me. And they just, you didn't, yoga teachers and students didn't have conversations. It just wasn't like, you go over there and I'm going over here. And now everybody's nice and everybody wants to help each other. And we're just going to keep that going. I think that's awesome.
That is a beautiful message. I really appreciate you sharing. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule, away from your family, and to do this. And I can't wait to release it. And I just really appreciate it, Tara. I You were so kind and so sweet in your reply. It means a lot. I think you're giving the example of what it is that your dream is. So I think I just really think I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, you're so nice. You too. I was really excited to chat with you, and I'm glad we have Yuladi in common.
Yes, Uladi is amazing. All right. Well, I hope that myself and anyone listening that wants to join you in Miami, that perhaps we'll have a in-person reunion or chance to actually meet in person, which I really want to try to come down. So I will make that happen. And thank you, Tara. And I look forward to meeting you in person and your husband. And uh,
Cool.
I'm excited to see you.
We'll have fun.
All right,
Thank
cool. Thank you.
you so much.